You are the author and the authority in your life. You know you better than anyone else. Your dreams, your fears, all the things that make you unique and special. The challenge is that there are a lot of people who are eager to tell you who you are, how you should live your life, what you should and should not do. And it becomes difficult to find our way back to ourselves after we get cluttered with all this unnecessary extra information. I'm Latia, and I love learning about people and helping them to figure out the truth that they already know that they may have forgotten that they know. This is working with people to discover their strengths and their dreams, what really resonates with their souls. This is my calling and what brings me joy because I feel like I get to be a scribe, comes to mind. I love to take notes and connect the dots when I learn things, especially when I meet new people and learn about their journeys, where they've been, what they're up to, because it's easy to forget that we have these wins and these moments where we've done things that we've never done before. So what I like to do is really just get to know people and be with them on their journey, because sometimes you just need someone who can see the greatness in you that you can't see in yourself, that asks you questions and gives you space to consider what works, what doesn't work, and to be the creative force in your life. Because sometimes we get stuck in the daily grind and we're just trying to make it through and survive and get to the next level of work, maybe of payment, of whatever that next level activity is, whether it's at work, with your family and your relationships. And sometimes we don't even want to or care to get to the next level because our current level is so draining that we're just doing everything to maintain and stay grounded in reality in the present, because there's just too much going on to really be intentional or have that space to choose what we do next. And so we become reactive. We become a bit fearful. We come so far to kind of drop the ball and not really know what to do next. So I have had a variety of coaches and coaching experiences and witnessed people coach other people. And my favorite coaches are those who allow space for the truth of the coachee, if you will. So these are the people who might be able to listen to your situation, and they've seen it many times before, and they know what's holding you back, what you need to do, and the best way to move forward. And instead of telling you what to do, they allow you the space to see for yourself what the problem is. If you cannot see what the problem is, then you cannot effectively create solutions. So the journey with people is always an interesting one, because what works when questioning one person may not work when questioning another. So there's always this level of adaptability and flexibility that comes into play when supporting people and discovering what's holding them back, because there's a difference between listening to someone and then telling them what their problems are based on what they say. There's a difference between halfway listening to what they say and then creating a solution based on what you would do. And then a difference between when you allow them space to talk and then they create solutions for themselves. That, for me, is the best option. I would say the worst experience is when someone does not listen, or they barely listen, and they try to fix your problems. That's annoying. It's disrespectful, it's rude, it's a bit condescending as well. How dare you think you know my life or anyone's life better than that individual? The next level is to listen and to guide or advise or mentor, is what I would look at that as, because it's easy for me as a third party perspective to say, okay, I can see the blocks that are in your way, and this is what you should do, or this is what you should consider as your stepping point. Based on experience and understanding of their situation, that can be effective. And the most powerful is really creating a safe space for someone to show up with their truth and to have the space to vocalize and verbalize anything that's on their mind, anything that comes up for them, because then there's this space where it's almost as though you're taking yourself away from those problems, and there's a little distance that's created. And then with that distance, it's like, okay, I can see this challenge that I'm dealing with. I can kind of like turn it around, assess it from as though it were a third party perspective instead of something that's me. So sometimes we get our circumstances confused with who we are, and we don't find the ability to create solutions. We get stuck. We think we don't have the room to grow or do new things. And so when we get to the space where I feel safe, I can get anything out, whether it's good, bad, ugly, or downright, they might send me to the devil because they're just like atrocious. But sometimes we need that space where we can get the gunky things out, and then they're not that bad or powerful. And then sometimes when you express your frustration at someone, it becomes a lot easier to empathize with them and see it from their perspective. So I know I've had a lot of experiences where in one of my jobs, one of my coworkers, we had like a very tumultuous relationship. So one time we'd be friends and talking and close, and then the next it feels like she's icing me out and doesn't want to talk to me, and she'd just be frustrated and bothered. And then another time we'd come back together and be fine, and it was just this really big back and forth between us. And I personally thought she was cool the very first time I saw her. Like, she seemed fine. I mean, she did have that I was a cheerleader, I'm one of the cool kids kind of vibes, and I that doesn't impress me. And she's like, okay, cool, whatever. Nobody cares about what, like, oh my God, whatever. So that for me is not impressive. It's like, cool, you're probably a jerk, but hey, we all have our moments. So this person and I, like, we would spend time together, and in those moments where we would communicate and connect, it was always like, oh my gosh, you're such a great listener. I really enjoy spending time with you. And it would be great. And then there would be times where she would just turn and be really mean and nasty out of the blue almost. Or something would happen, but it wouldn't really bother me. And she's like, oh, okay, this is just how it's going. And then it would feel like she would come at me like with really bad energy. And I would just be like, I don't really know what your problem is. I'm not going to engage in this. And so for me, it was like stressful. So like I would go to my friend and be like, she's such a jerk and she's so mean and she's a bee and she's a this and that and I don't understand it. Why would she be like this? And I don't need her. Da-da-da-da-da. And then couple like seconds later, be like, well, I know it's hard for her and she's doing the best she can. And, you know, I really do want to be friends with her. Like, that's why I'm so bothered, because I actually care about her and I would love to have a relationship with her. I don't like dissing people and not having friends and, you know, being the outcast. And I don't know what happened in her perspective on it. So, yeah, you know, it's tough. And my friends would be like, oh my gosh, you're so weird. Like, why are you defending them? And it's because sometimes it's easier to see the other person's potential perspective or the impact on them. And in this situation, it was more getting to the truth of the matter, which is I'm upset because someone I care about is treating me poorly. That was like the sum of it. I would love to be your friend. And it feels like anytime something goes wrong, you shut me out, you isolate, you're kind of nasty towards me. And it's really difficult to be in that situation. So it wasn't as though I hated her or really thought that she was just this cruel person. I mean, her social skills definitely weren't the best or most consistent, but that doesn't mean that she's a nasty person and was trying to be that way. Especially when, based on research that I've done, I've seen that women are taught to be manipulative and underhanded when dealing with their hurt feelings, their sadness, or their aggression. So instead of where boys are allowed to fight each other, they just deal with their emotions in the moment. It's just like, I'm mad, hit you, like, let's fight, let's talk it out, whatever. But they deal with it in the moment. Whereas with women, don't hit, don't fight. Good girls don't do that. Don't be a bully, don't be mean. So we're taught to internalize and stuff our feelings down. So I believe that for any person who has had to kind of repress their feelings in the moment, Now what's happened is you have to like analyze and be in your head about it. And then you have to figure out a solution, and then you need space to process. So it's not necessarily a man-woman thing, but how are you taught to express your feelings in the moment? So if you've had to intentionally, like, I'm mad, I want to hit you, and you're like cut off, like that emotion's cut off, the expression of it's cut off. Now you've created a short circuiting of your natural expression that sometimes you just need space to practice undoing. So we have to unlearn repressing our emotions, eating them down, holding back, finding unhealthy ways of expressing when we're hurt with people, and just finding that healthier, open, connective space where instead of me shutting you out or being cruel to you, now I can just be like, okay, I'm hurt. I didn't like that you did that. I wish you would have done this thing, and let's talk about it. So it takes practice, and we need safe spaces where we can really just get to the heart of what's bothering us. Because one of my beliefs is that as humans, all we want is to be loved, feel loved, and connect with other people. And the challenges that arise are these emotions and feelings that sometimes we misassign in life. So we think we hate this person, but we really care about them and we want them in our lives. We just don't know how to express it. We think we're being loving and protective when really we're being fearful and we're not trusting that they're going to be okay. So there are a lot of distortions in how we communicate with one another, and it comes up because we love them so much, we don't know how to express that love, and we're taught not to deal with conflict in healthy ways. So as we discover what's really important to us, we now have the opportunity to respond differently and own what we're going through instead of feeling like we're in the wind and dealing with circumstances and kind of flailing instead of being the powerful people we are. So if I had to sum up everything, I would just say that it's all about having space to get to our truth. As we can own the good, the bad, the ugly, the everything, we'll have space to understand what we're really dealing with and the solution that we are really seeking. Because sometimes people cut off our thought processes too soon, and we don't get deep enough into our own situations to realize it's not as bad as I thought it was. And I would like to work with this person to create something new, or it's time to let it go. So that's my perspective on relationships and the difference between learning from yourself and being told what to do by someone who may not have your best interest at heart.